Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here at this event and also at Discoverfest in general. This is day 2 of Discoverfest, and we're having a blast. My name is Jonah from Discover, and today we are talking to Kaye Putnam. Kaye, how are you doing?
I am so geeked out and excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, and everyone, please hop in the comments. Let us know if you can hear us and see us all right. Let us know where you're tuning in from, how you heard about Kaye, how you heard about Discover. We love to just get to know you a little bit. And also feel free to pop any questions you have during the presentation in there. We will have a dedicated Q&A after Kaye's presentation. So if we don't answer them during, that's because there's that dedicated time. And if we don't get to your question right away in the Q&A, pop it in again. We're not ignoring you. We just try and get through every question as we go. And a couple expectations: if you have to get up away from the computer, or the dog comes in the room, or life happens around you, don't fret. All of this will be available in a replay. It'll be on the YouTube page. It'll also be on the Discover page itself for the event, and it'll be emailed to you if you RSVP'd for the event. So without further ado, proper introduction. Like I said, we are talking to Kaye Putnam, and we are going to be learning about the Clarity Code, unlocking the 4 keys to an in-demand brand. And Kaye is going to reveal the 4 subconscious elements inside every wildly successful brand. Little background on Kaye. Kaye Putnam is a psychology-driven brand strategist for entrepreneurs. Through work with hundreds of clients, from global brands to solo business owners, she developed the Clarity Code. Now, Kaye, I know you have a lot to share with us, and I don't want to take up any more time, so I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Jonah. We are going to geek out on all things branding. We are going to have a fantastic time. I can see that we already have an international audience here live. Hello, if you're watching the replay. Let's dive straight into the content so that I can deliver as much value as humanly possible in a short period of time. So I wanted to start with this slide because this is why I do the work that I do. I honestly believe that every human, and particularly every entrepreneur, has genius to share with the world. And what a fantastic opportunity to do it in a Teachable course. This has been my platform of choice for a really long time, and personally have been able to impact thousands of brand builders. And I know that the same infinite ripple effect is available to you when you choose to show up and to share your work with the world. So before we talk anything with packaging it up, making it, a premium option in people's mind, how you show up as an entrepreneur, all of those things are great, but let's remember why we're doing this. And this is why. The world truly needs your genius. So let's get it out into the world. And to do that, I am going to teach you my Clarity Code framework. And we are unlocking the 4 keys for an in-demand brand. So whether you sell courses or consulting or services or even a physical product, these 4 elements are crucial to help your people, your humans that you're meant to serve and impact, to understand the value of what you're offering. And this is going to be super fun because I have essentially taken just a tiny little exercise from each of the first 4 days of my 5-day live Clarity Week workshop, and I'm sharing them with you here for free. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Clarity Week when we get done, because it's an amazing workshop that is coming up. But enjoy the fact that you get a little aperitif or sneak peek into what that's going to be here in a moment. All right. To set the stage, let's see if any of this sounds familiar. So as an entrepreneur, you get started and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm going to be successful, but there is so much to learn. What am I doing? And then you dive into everything that's available online. Workshops like this, YouTube videos, podcasts, freebies, checklists, all of the things. You're like, I am figuring this out. This is amazing. But then you consume all of that content and you feel like you still aren't really sure what you should do for your business, for your brand. But then you find an expert or a coach or some other amazing human that's a little bit farther down the road from you. And you're like, they know the way. I'm just going to follow what they say and this is all going to work out. But then sometimes it doesn't quite work out the way that you expected. Maybe you implemented the strategy step by step by step by step, and you didn't see quite the same results that other people did, or even that coach or consultant did. So you're like, But then you find a new coach or consultant or idea, and you get excited again. And when that doesn't work out as maybe you expected or hoped, I hate this stage of the process, but it is very common to feel like, oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? Why am I not seeing the results that I want to get? And what a lot of people do at that point in time is they're like, I'm just going to throw everything up in the air and start from scratch. I must be doing everything wrong. It's time for a new name, a new product, a new site, new everything. And it doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to start from scratch to see the results that we're looking for. We just have to go about it in a different way. And we are going to talk about what that way is here in this quick class. Definitely put down the cell phone, turn off Instagram, except if you want to like take a quick shot and tag me, that would be amazing. I love to see my community there on Instagram or in other places, tag Teachable, all of those good things. But I apologize because I am going to go really, really quickly through this content. And I am also going to share a workbook link here in the chat to help you go along with this process. But if it's easier for you to just absorb it once and then go back and actually work through the exercises when you have a bit more time, I recommend doing that. So let me see if I can share I don't know if I have the option. Jonah, maybe you can help me out. So the workbook is at kayeputnam.com/workbook, and that'll get you to the workbook that corresponds.
And yep, Kay, I'm sharing that in the comments right now.
Yay. Thank you. Amazing.
No problem.
All right. Yeah. So there's the workbook. But like I said, it may just be a better experience to just stay here with me because I am going to move really, really quickly because I want to deliver as much as possible. So the secret isn't in finding the best, newest strategy or next newest guru. It's really about going inside to figure out who you are as a brand. This is the secret. It's not about modeling success. It's about getting to the core essence of who you are, how you best serve, the most value that you bring to the world, and packaging that up into a beautiful container that people can understand the value that you bring. And if I had $1 for every time somebody just said, just be yourself, I'd be a lot wealthier than I am today, because that in itself is incomplete. We actually need tools and frameworks and systems to think through each aspect of what being yourself actually means. So let's do that. If we have not met before, my name is Kaye Putnam. Hello, I am the resident brand nerd in these parts. You may know me by a brand personality quiz that's on my website. It identifies your brand archetype. It's been taken. I just leave 100,000 on all of the slides and all of my marketing because I got tired of changing it in all of the places. But I can let you know, since you're watching here, it's up over 200,000 times that this quiz has been taken now, which is mind-blowing when I think about all of you incredible humans that are getting to the truth of your brand through that particular tool. I've been behind the scenes of over 1,000 brands, ranging from OneonOne clients to students that I serve in my Teachable courses. My background is in marketing with a psychology concentration, but really the true learning has happened here in business. I launched my first course back in 2015, sold a couple of them. And then by implementing this process in my own brand and walking what I teach, the results have just snowballed over time. So I can't wait for you to see similar or better results as you implement this type of work into your business. Of course, it all depends on your industry, your level of expertise, all of those things, but growth becomes much more accessible when you have the certainty, the clarity, and the confidence in who you are and what you stand for. And the 4 elements, the 4 keys that I'm going to teach you, we're going to have one exercise for each of these powerful elements of your brand, are your brand core, your brand orbit, demand, and energy. I love me some acronyms. Maybe it was because I was married to a military man. He's now out of the military, but they also love acronyms. So this is the Clarity Code, CODE. Core is all about the core truths, who you are on the inside. Orbit is how you attract and nurture people to come into your world. Demand is how we present our offer so that we're tapping into what people already desire. And then energy, or what I like to call your energetic influence, is your capacity to create more and more of these results. Boom, 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 boom. All right, is this resonating with everybody? Are you in the right place? Let me know in the chat if you are excited to learn this Clarity Code framework to grow your brand. Amazing, amazing. Okay, core. Like I mentioned, we're getting one little mini lesson from my Clarity Week 5-week workshop that's happening starting on the 29th of November. But because of the time limit here, we can't go into all of the pieces. So I wanted to pull out the most powerful, most impactful piece from that paid training to share with you today. Carrie is ready to learn. Everybody is ready. Okay, so if you've been in my orbit, you are familiar with brand archetypes, but let me just quickly catch up anybody who is being introduced to this concept for the first time. Brand archetypes, or archetypes in general, are these patterns, these categories, these unconscious knowings that all humans have and that we see across culture, across time, across brands, maybe even across the aisles of the grocery store that you walk down. And they connect us to very universal human desires. Originally, they were popularized by psychologist Carl Jung. More recently, there's been authors like Carol S. Pearson and Margaret Mark who have written some incredible books about it. And I've been personally obsessed with brand archetypes as an application for small entrepreneurs, because the big agencies, they've been, throwing their $1 million budgets at the biggest brands in the world, the Harley Davidsons, the Nikes, and they've been using this tool for decades. But when I first discovered archetypes, there wasn't a lot of people that were applying them to small business, particularly small online business. So I've made it my life's work to distill and to translate these archetypes to make them usable for entrepreneurs like myself and like you. And they connect not only to personality, but to beliefs, to universal values, to themes and metaphors that you can bring into your brand to elevate the conversation beyond the commodity. So when we're just selling a course, or if we're just selling a service, if that's all that we're talking about, our people don't know our value, and they don't know how we're different from the hundreds of other people that are selling similar courses or similar services or similar products. So we need to build in meaning to our brand. And if we tap into these psychological archetypes, our ideal clients, our humans that we want to serve, they get this quick jolt of understanding. because we're tapping into a knowledge that already exists. So I'm going to share some examples of this here in just a second. I'm a huge nerd. I love sci-fi. I grew up watching Star Wars, and I recognized, as this nerdy human that I am, I always really identified with or was drawn to certain characters in these movies that I love so much. And as I discovered archetypes later in my life, back in 2013 or so, I realized that a lot of these characters that I love, they represent actually very similar archetypes as myself, which is kind of fun. So Yoda, Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, Mr. Miyagi, and Morpheus from The Matrix, they all have this intersection of the sage archetype and the magician archetype, which I strongly identify with both. Sage is the teacher, the mentor. I love like showing up and teaching here in this type of environment is my zone of genius. It's where I get the most energy. I love doing things like this because I am innately a sage archetype. I'm also all about change and transformation and recognizing inner power to make change happen, which is the universal themes or metaphors that the magician archetype stands for. And you might find similar patterns that show up in your life. So there are 12 brand archetypes that I use in my work. You can see them here on the screen. We have the caregiver, creator, entertainer, explorer, girl or guy next door, hero, innocent, lover, magician, maverick, royal, and sage. As you start to read through those quick descriptions of each, I'm going to bet that there are a couple that are just calling to you because they are you. They are innate to the way that you interact with the world. They are how a friend or a partner or your clients might describe you if asked. And if you have trouble identifying, self-identifying what your top archetypes are, I have a quiz on my website that helps you do exactly that. I created it for myself back in the day because I needed this clarity for myself. And the brand archetypes are beautiful because they give us a tool, almost like a prism, or like a prism maybe isn't the right word, but it's a perspective to look through to start to audit your brand. So if you know that you stand for the lover archetype, you can start to look at your copy, your images, your metaphors, your stories, and check back with that lover, that primary archetype of yours, and see if you're representing or exemplifying or embodying that archetype in each and every single one of your brand touch points. From your sales page to the course welcome video to the actual lessons or the content that you're teaching, you can pull in some of these unconscious cues in everything that you do, from the language to the colors to the images and everything in between. So that's a quick introduction to archetypes. I go much deeper into this topic on my website. After the quiz, there's even 12 individual courses, one for each of the archetypes, to help you implement this into your brand. But just having the awareness is powerful. So I wanted to make sure I included it in this training. The O in our clarity code process is to increase brand gravity. What do you mean, Kaye? Well, the old way of doing things, and thankfully this has been heavily disrupted, particularly in the last couple of years, but it was just to buy as many impressions as possible and to sell as much of your product as quickly as possible. I come from the traditional marketing world. I spent a couple years in radio advertising, and that's all it was. It's like, you need to have at least 3 impressions over a 12-week period so you get enough times you get in front of people, so hopefully they start to remember you. And of course there's ways to do that better, but that as your primary strategy, just frequency, and then going immediately to the sale, is becoming more and more outdated because consumers are getting smarter and smarter and more discerning and more particular about the brands that they invest in. Thank goodness, right? So as a brand, as a business owner, we also need to evolve to meet consumers where they are at in this sophistication that's happening over time. As markets get more and more competitive, more and more noisy, you have to step your game up to reach new clients and customers. So what we do now is we connect first, and then later down the road, after we've built up enough trust, then we focus on conversions. This is what this looks like. I love the metaphor of a planet, especially like gravitational orbit around a planet when I think about brands, because the more powerful your brand is, the more powerful your gravity is. Like people just come to your world, your orbit, and they stick around longer when you're doing this work well, when you're being unapologetically, amazingly you, whatever that means. So this is a 3-phase system, and our exercise is to identify your primary strategy in each of these 3 phases. So we attract, and then we nurture, and then we convert. An example of an attraction activity is to show up in front of other people's audiences. So I am literally walking this talk right now. I am providing this free workshop that is crammed full of as much value as humanly possible, and I'm teaching it in Teachable's Discover Fast. So I get to hopefully reach people who've never heard of me. They have no idea who this Kaye Putnam chica is, and they get introduced to my brand. Some percentage of them will be interested in what I do. If that's you, I hope you'll come on over. We love nerding out about all things branding. But then some of them don't. So this is an example of an attraction strategy. It's one of my primary attraction strategies. I also love ads, but especially when you're in the beginning stages, or even when you're at that inflection point where you're getting ready to scale up your business, it's really important that you focus your energy. We're going to talk a little bit more about energy in a second, but the simple act of deciding what your primary strategy in each of these 3 phases is going to give you so much more momentum when you double down there. So what is your attract? Are you speaking in front of other people's audiences? Are you running ads? Are you focused on the long-term play of SEO? And if so, are you doing something that's short-term to kind of like bridge that gap until that Google juice kind of starts to kick on? And then once people are in your world, how are you building trust? How are you deepening the relationship with each of these humans? For me, I have my wildly popular brand quiz that, like I said, was a tool for me, and it's become a really useful tool for hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs and humans like you. We also have email automation that consistently delivers value. You could focus on social media content. Again, there's tons of options. I never encourage people to do things exactly the way that I do. You need to find what works best for you. You need to ask yourself, what would 7-year-old self just think was super fun and exciting? Like maybe that's creating graphics. So you find a platform that works really well for that. Or maybe you love teaching and you find more opportunities to teach. Or perhaps you love like the off-the-cuff nature of live video and you might show up on Instagram stories or Facebook Lives. Find your happy place and focus your energy there. Finally, ask yourself, what is going to be your primary strategy to convert? How are you actually going to invite people into your paid offers? I love webinars, again, because we're pairing that teaching piece, but you could also focus on just developing really incredible sales pages, or you might have a sales call that somebody engages with you on where they make that decision, where you're making that ask. So like I said, This is a completely blank slate. You don't have to do what XYZ successful entrepreneur is doing. You need just to find your own favorite way to do each of these three things. How are you going to reach out to people who have no idea who you are yet? How are you going to nurture the people that have discovered you but aren't ready to buy yet? And then how are you going to convert people into paying clients or customers? This stuff really is magic, especially when you're living from your joy and doing the things that you actually like to do instead of the things that you think that you should do. We don't want to should all over ourselves. I've heard other people say, and I resonate with deeply. So you really do want to focus on first, who am I? Who am I really? How can I express that to the world with our archetypes as a tool? There's other tools as well that I teach in more of my courses. But second, how are we going to reach people? Like, how am I going to lead by example by creating this body of work, this content, these experiences, these opportunities, these invitations to bring people into my world and get them to stick around? And then once they're there, moving on to the D in our clarity code framework. Hopefully everybody's doing great. Like, give yourself a little shake. I know I'm moving fast. Make sure you're here, that you're reflecting, that you're having fun. I hope that you're having fun. And let's keep moving. So the D, the demand, is your irresistible offer. I have no doubt. I know without a sliver of doubt in my mind that you have something of incredible value to share. We all have a unique story, a unique set of skills, a unique talent that when we do the great work of creating a product, that's only half of the battle. We still have to talk about it or position it or message it in a way that our potential students, potential clients, they get it. They like see the offer and they're like, that's for me. And I'm excited to pay whatever price that it's listed at because I see the value in the transformation that I'm going to get through that product or service or course. Seth Godin said the reason it seems that all price is what people care about, your customers care about, is that you haven't given them anything else to care about. We really do need to do the heavy lifting for our potential clients, students, customers to express the value of what we sell. We know how long we've been learning this stuff. Like, we know how many books we've read and courses we've taken to hone our skills, but our client doesn't. And our client may not even value that education if they don't know what that education is going to do for them. So it's this bridge between meeting people where they're at and explaining how our product is going to get them to where they already know that they want to go. We don't ever want to convince people. We don't ever want to tell people that they should want something. We're only tapping into desire that already exists in the market. And this is how we do it. We start to think about what is the context of our offer. And we can answer these 5 questions to create powerful sales language that we can use on our sales pages, in our sales emails, in all of those places where we're trying to convert our ideal client. So first of all, what is the immediate problem that you solve? Even if you sell jewelry, it's kind of hard to like get into the mindset of like you're solving a problem, right? But like somebody's buying that jewelry for a specific reason. Maybe they want to express themselves, or maybe they have a specific event that they're going to. There's always a trigger or a reason why people are seeking out your product, service, or whatever you're selling right now as opposed to some other time. So what is that immediate problem or desire that your problem or that your product exists to serve? Then we start to get juicy. So what does it cost if our person doesn't solve this problem now? What is the opportunity cost? What if they just ignore it? They're like, I'm putting on my blinders. I know that I probably need a brand, but I'm just going to ignore it and focus on other things. So what is that for you? Also, what emotional needs does your product, service, or course solve? Are you helping people feel more significant? Are you helping them feel connected? Are you helping them feel a sense of achievement? By the way, you can find inspiration for all of these in your archetypes as well. So magician, again, using myself as an example, it's a sense of change. Like people literally want to transform, and I can help them do that. And then for sage, people desire certainty. They desire knowledge. They desire wisdom so that they can feel confident about the route that they choose. So I do that as much as possible because people buy for emotional reasons way more than they buy for the logical reasons. All right, what is possible when they solve this problem? So paint the picture of what is this utopia, this promised land that you're bringing them to. Where are you going after they go through the course? What's on the other side? How are they going to see their own success? How are they going to measure their own success? What is possible? And then lastly, why are other options inadequate? And this would be like substitution. So if you're selling copywriting, the other options might be another copywriter, but it also might be a DIY copywriting course, or maybe it's one of those new AI copywriting tools, or perhaps it's just hiring a completely separate modality altogether because copywriting's ultimate goal is to sell products. So maybe they decide to sell products by investing in sales training or investing in a designer. There's substitutions to get to the desired goal. So make sure that you understand and can communicate clearly, like literally communicate to people, why is this option, this thing that you're selling, the very best for them? So here is an example for my own course that I will be telling you more about when we get done through each of these exercises. Okay, so the immediate problem, especially when I'm talking to the Teachable audience, is how do I present my course so that people want to buy it? That's the question that people are often asking themselves. So to go back here, what does it cost if they don't solve this problem? It is lost opportunity, lost sales, students that you could have helped, people that desperately need your help, but they just don't understand that you can provide it. The emotional benefits are, as a course creator, feeling proud of how you show up, feeling confident when you tell people about your course, and feeling like you know what you're talking about and you know what to talk about when you create for social media or wherever you're creating content. What's possible is an entirely different lifestyle. When you're selling online products and courses and services, you could perhaps travel, or you can design your own job description. You don't have to do all of those things that somebody else tells you what to do. You get to share your unique genius with the world. And then the reason why other options are inadequate or not the same as mine is they focus on surface level tactics or surface level strategy, surface level how things look, but we're really starting from the inside out. I ask you to go deep right away in all of my courses and products and to look at the inside, the psychological level, the unconscious level, when we are addressing all of these questions. And then finally, the E of the Clarity Code process is something that I added more recently, maybe like, I don't know, end of 2019. And thank goodness I did, because we all know what happened in 2020 and 21. And it is focusing on your energy. Chances are you don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in budget. Chances are you don't have hundreds of team members or people on your like employer roster. If you're like most people that I work with, either you are on your own or you perhaps have a small team of contractors that helps you out, or maybe 1 or 2 employees. That's my typical client. So if you ignore the energetic aspect of your brand, nothing else works. Like you could have the most beautiful brand in the world. You could have the best marketing strategy, but if you can't get out of bed to execute on what you're doing and to show up embodying your own work and excited about your own work, you're not going to get other people excited. So you have to focus on the energy piece. And the most profound realization I made is something I call spiral theory. And I realized this in that time frame that I just mentioned, 2019. We had just moved from how we had just gotten out of the military. We had done a bit of a sabbatical, hiked to Everest Base Camp, which was amazing. And then we were moving to North Carolina, where we now live, and we're stuck in a hotel for several months as we did the house shopping situation. And I realized in that hotel living, I wasn't eating well. I was having too many poolside cocktails. I was sleeping in. I didn't have a very good schedule. And I felt from the depths of my soul, this sense of lethargy and even despair. It was a really rough time. And I decided that things needed to change. It's happened that it coincided with us finding a place to move into, and I now had control over my environment. So I created what I called my quantum quarter, and I designed a whole menu of things that added to my energy. And I focused on adding as many of those things to my day as possible. And then I also created some awareness around what are those things that are draining my power, draining my force that I could bring to the world and to impact people. And then lastly, most people don't listen to this one. And if you've ever heard that quote, that Pinterest graphic of, we all have the same 24 hours a day, Beyonce, Oprah, you, and rolled your eyes, it's because we're not taking into account this third column, which is our resources. Let me share my personal, and hopefully you'll bear with how vulnerable this is, but this is my personal energy audit that I did when I sat down to create and design that quantum quarter. My deposits are anytime I move my body. It's eating plants, it's drinking water, it's taking breaks and vacations, playing, all of those things. And the things that were draining me were scrolling on my phone. Anytime I had sugar, I could feel this crash after. Taking care of my kids, which I love to do, but it also takes energy. So just knowing that you're not going to remove all of the drains, but we want to replace as many as possible with things from the deposit list. And then recognize where you have resources, recognize where you have support, because that can multiply your energy. If you have team members that are helping you, if you have family that's helping you accomplish tasks around the home, if you have courses like this that are fueling you with knowledge and motivation to go and sell more, to work on your brand, to serve more people, that is a resource. And they don't necessarily have to cost money, but some of them do. But make sure that you're leaning on as much of your available resources as possible so that you don't have to use all of your own personal energy to bring every single thing to life. James Clear, who has an amazing book, it's behind me, Atomic Habits, he says, you choose the future with your actions each day. And I have witnessed that in my own life. All right, so to recap, the clarity code. Core, what is your innate advantage? O is your brand orbit. What are your 3 strategies to attract, to nurture, and I have the word serve here, but it's really to convert. I wanted to make that a bit more clear. D, how can you increase demand for your offer by answering those questions that are the context around your offer? It's not just about selling our thing. It's not just about selling our widget or creating a better widget. We have to understand what role this widget plays in people's lives and how we can interject our messaging into the conversations that are already playing in our ideal student's mind. And then energy. How can I set the conditions to make my success inevitable? We are capable of so much, but we need to be deliberate and intentional and not self-sabotage. got the t-shirt. I know exactly how this feels. But when we're intentional, that means that we can show up and we can serve more people and we can get that genius out of our head and into the lives of the people that most benefit. So at this point, I want to share a quick description of what we're doing in Clarity Week, because it's like this times 5 or times a lot. And you can absolutely take these little nuggets, these little, that workbook that I shared with you, these 4 short exercises, and you can take them and run with them, and that's fantastic. And I hope that you got a bunch of value from what I shared here in this course. But you can also tap into an additional resource if you so choose, called Clarity Week. It is my paid Black Friday Discover Fast offer, and I marked it half off, and I'm teaching it live from November 29th through December 3rd. And it's going to be super exciting. I haven't run it live since July or August of 2020, so it's been a long time. You actually get access to the recordings of the 2020 event, but it's going to be all new and improved. So we're releasing a recorded class on the morning of each day, and then I'm hosting a live Q&A. So I'm showing up on Zoom with students during that week. And then we also have a pop-up Facebook group for you to network with your fellow peers to get additional support. And it is so in-depth. Like I said, it's like this, except we're doing this every single day and then some. And at the end of it, I tap you into a brand future assessment, which helps you identify exactly what order and how to incorporate each of these pieces from the Clarity Code process. So just a sneak peek of what we're doing. What we didn't cover here in this class that's going to be in the 5-day workshop. I teach the 3X influence factors, energetic day design, and then I share a self-hypnosis called the Limitless Self. We dive a little bit deeper into the archetypes. We talk about your beliefs and bothers list, which is magical for creating content. Your P5 positioning statement, which helps people understand what you do at a very quick, just like introduction. Invisible levers or levers of desire or demand that help pull people into your product. Premium offer positioning, how to generate proof for your products, how to build your value letter, and again, so much more. I don't want to read through everything that you're seeing on the slide because you can see the slide right there in front of you. And I know that you're very smart humans, but there is a lot more inside of Clarity Week. And we're doing it live. We've had a bunch of students go through it. We're going to invite all of the students that have done it in the past to come through the curriculum live again, but it has gotten rave reviews. And for right now, it is only $47. So I typically sell it for $97 any other day of the week, but in honor of Black Friday, and because I'm just, I don't know, maybe it's this whole 2020, 2021 situation, but I love like being in the room with people, and this is the best way I know how to do that online. So we're going to be bringing together hundreds of entrepreneurs for this 5-day live, highly energetic, super valuable course, and that's available to you. And now I can answer any questions that you have.
Hey, Kay, thank you so much. I want to call out right away. I really appreciate your distinction of just like, yeah, a lot of people are like, yeah, just be yourself. But then also, I think there's this negative feedback loop where like, if you go and be yourself, but maybe you just don't have some of these other details figured out, then if you don't get a good reaction, you're like, well, am I the problem? Yeah, and it can be really hard. And so I appreciate it also, your system and just your methods also provide like some other things to work on. So it's not just you alone in the ether representing yourself. Yeah, I just wanted to call that out because I appreciate that. But yeah, everyone, please hop in and ask any questions you have. We have Kay for just a little bit longer. And I did want to I know you mentioned it quick, but just double clarify because it's a little different than how some other people do with the courses. For the live sessions, is it only in that live session where you're available to do the course, or can you pop in and out? What's that structure like? Yeah.
Yeah, really great question. Yeah, so all of Clarity Week will be recorded and transcribed and like edited, made like beautiful and put back into Teachable. So if you aren't able to be in every session, or if you just don't, like maybe you're just going to be sleeping after eating a lot of turkey during that particular week, you absolutely still can get all of the value of the course. But if you want that additional just like energy that comes from being live, then we're having those daily Q&A calls on the 29th through the December 3rd.
Love it. Okay, cool. And then had a few people asking just in general, like, where do you find your archetype quiz or your other quizzes in general? I assume it's your website, but can you just call it out?
Yes, kayeputnam.com/quiz. So it should be pretty easy to find. It's also right at the top of my website. It continues to be my best way to nurture new people that are coming into contact with my brand. So it lives right there at the top of my website.
Awesome. And then is follow-up kind of question here, where can I find more information on the energy audit work?
Yes, because that's relatively new to my brand. Clarity Week is one of the very few places that I change it or that I share it. And we go into a lot more detail inside of Clarity Week. I also work with some clients with like a 6-month one-on-one really high-end mentorship, and we dive into that work a bit more in that container. But for the highest amount of accessibility, I recommend Clarity Week for getting the deep dive there.
Awesome. And just to tag on, since we're talking about how long is the $47 offer available, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's only for a week. So pop it. The link is in the comments. It's in the description, and it'll be emailed to you along with that offer. But it's only for a week, so you can think about it for a little bit, but take advantage of it while it's here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe the coupon code itself is going to work until the end of the day on the 29th, but we're actually starting on the 29th as well. So I would get in sooner than later so that you get the full experience.
Right. And let's get it. It takes a second for these to roll in, but now we're getting some extra questions here. They're a little more specific. Like, so what if I'm barely starting out? How do I contact potential subscribers?
Yes. Again, there's a lot of different strategies that you could do. And this is one of the reasons why building an online business gets so overwhelming so quickly. So I'll share a couple ideas, but I don't want you to do all of them or to focus in all of these areas. But depending on what feels good and what feels fun to you, some people love like the analytics and the systems aspect of running ads. It's a very technical skill to learn, and that's a great way to reach new people, particularly if you have some budget. Other people who have smaller budgets and who are more relationship driven, they tend to really like what I call OPA, or other people's audiences. So reaching out and pitching yourself as a podcast guest, or maybe a YouTube collaborator for somebody that has a channel that reaches a similar audience as you. There's lots of opportunities to collaborate with other creators. So that's a really fantastic way to reach people even before you have your own audience yourself.
Yeah. And so also I'm hearing like it really depends on what's authentic to your brand. Yes. And also your budget, right? Like you shouldn't rack up a $5,000 bill on a credit card taking ads if that's that. Okay. Yeah.
I would not recommend that. No.
But it's valuable because there's so many videos out here of like how to make $1 million running ads. And it's like, yeah, that person started with $100,000 to waste.
Exactly. I think there's a quote about vineyards. It's like, how do you make $1 million in the wine industry? It's like, start with $1 billion.
Right.
Similar situation.
Yeah. Just working down here. So question, do you still offer a class on doing your own quiz?
I do. We created a brand new course. We just launched it a couple months ago now, and it's available evergreen now. It's available on my site. It's called Convert with a Quiz. So that's absolutely available, and it walks you through my I lost an earring. The step-by-step process I use to create my quiz and to optimize it and everything.
Awesome. Yeah. Just working through so we get through them all in time. Which archetypes are most common, I imagine, of your clients? Are they Sage too?
Yes, I love this question because when you hear about archetypes, a lot of people's next logical question is like, oh, what archetypes are my clients? And personally, in my experience, I have clients across all 12. I absolutely have like a slightly higher incidence of magicians and sages, which is what I am, but I truly have people across the entire spectrum. I liken this to friends. Like, we love friends who have different personalities than us, particularly if they're very secure in who they are. What we don't love is the person who tries to like bend over backwards or shape shift and be something that you're not. So I encourage everybody to focus more on what your archetypes are versus what your clients are, and trust that the right people are going to show up when you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I would lose my mind if all my friends were exactly like me, right?
Yeah.
But and my clients too. Oh boy. But yeah, I appreciate that. Look. Quick question from Sandpiper GFX. Can you talk about the Create Cash Flow add-on?
Yes, I thought I actually took that off, but maybe it's still sticking in my funnel somewhere. So the Create Cash Flow workshop is I think it's about 80 or 90-minute workshop that I did. It was like right in the beginning of the pandemic, but it's universal to anybody who's feeling that sticky situation where like, I just need to create more revenue as quickly as possible. So I walk through a few short-term strategies to do that. Ironically, short-term strategies typically aren't what you want to use as you continue into the long term. So I make that delineation of here's what to do in the short term, but here's what you want to shift your focus to eventually in the long term to generate more revenue.
But that was more pandemic. Am I hearing, do you still offer that, or is that not?
Yes, I absolutely still offer it. It wasn't supposed to be in this particular funnel, but maybe they just found it in some other place.
I got
so
you.
it's
Okay.
it's still available, and it's still relevant. But that was the catalyst that
Right.
that introduced it.
That's a great idea. I love that. Yeah. And then, will you be offering this week at another point? Raylene would love to give this to their sister, but know that her business is extremely busy.
Oh my gosh, I want you as a sister.
Right?
So it is absolutely going to be available, but the $47 offer is going away. So like I said, everything is going to be recorded. So you could buy it now to get the cheaper price, and then your sister could use it after the new year and into perpetuity. So I'll be going back to the $97 typical price after Black Friday is complete.
Gotcha. Which is still, I mean, $97
bananas.
means a lot to other people, but as far as courses go, that's still, I can call out, that's great value. What if you are 24 to 29% in multiple archetypes? Do you go with your most?
I love this. Sometimes I get some clients that are 25% because the quiz presents your top four at the end of it. So sometimes people are literally like divergent and they are equal in all of their top four. And they're like, what do I do now? So you have a few options. I recommend looking at the outcome pages. So like the pages that describe each of those top four archetypes. And then trusting your gut, trusting your intuition, using the ones that are pulling to you the most. And I do typically recommend that you focus on a primary and a secondary. I have some small, like maybe 5% of my students that add in a third, a tertiary, but 2 seems to be a good blend for people, not to feel like you're getting pulled in too many different directions, but it still feels unique to you.
Okay, so if it's not obvious, it takes a little more investigating to get.
Yes.
Yeah,
just
cool.
Spend a little bit more time learning about it and then give yourself permission to decide.
Right. Okay, keep going here. Rosabella, you mentioned story a couple times. I struggle with my story and everyone has a different definition. What approach do you recommend?
Ooh, such a good point. Like from the beginnings of time, humans have like gathered around campfires and told stories. Our brains are wired for them, and it's something I struggled with a lot. I talk specifically about how to easily structure stories in Clarity Week. There's a piece of that part when we're talking about increasing demand for your brand. We're talking about what content to create. So I have some training there. If you want a free option, there is also, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but my YouTube channel has a lot of valuable videos on it available for free as well. And I know I talk about brand origin stories and then a few others about stories in particular. So those are some resources I would recommend.
Love it. And then here's an interesting one from Frandanisa. I hope I'm saying that right. How do you quickly convince someone, a manager or a CEO, of the value of archetypes and archetype research?
Such a good question. Whenever you're selling to humans, it's very valuable to align your brand with human psychology and with human desires. And since we're all selling to humans, as far as I know, archetypes can be a really powerful tool. I also like to say that the human psychology algorithm doesn't change. So this work is timeless. It's not something that's going to go out of style, or that, Apple or Facebook or such and such are going to change something and going to make it irrelevant. It's something that can increase demand for your brand, meaning that you have the either pricing power to charge more, or you just have preference in the market where you have more customers, and it continues to have that influence. It snowballs over time.
Right, right. Hopefully, a manager or CEO would see the value in that if they care about their customers. Right. um,
Even if they just care about sales, there's
right,
definitely
because it's
some
either way. Yeah.
arguments there.
Okay, we got time for just a couple more, so I'm gonna blaze through. But this is a great one just to call out. Hey, I took your brand quiz about a year ago. The products I sell are definitely an emotional purchase. I need help with my branding copy. Can people work with you one-on-one? Is that a process? Do you take a lot of clients these days in a one-on-one basis? Like, what's that situation?
I do. So the best way, or the easiest way, I would say, the most accessible way, is for anybody that's ever purchased any of my courses before. I offer discounted one-off one-on-one sessions that are available to you within Teachable. Melanie, just reach out if you need help finding where that is, but there's an option for any students of any of my courses to book that.
Love it, love it. And we've got one more question before we wrap up. How long would you stay with a company like GoSite to help build your brand?
Oh, interesting. I don't know that particular company, but I will answer that more what's the word? Widely.
Broadly,
I wanted to say
widely.
wildly.
Maybe both.
Yes, maybe both. It's really interesting when you're building a brand, because you need to make sure that you are doing the inner work and the reflection first before you hand off your brand development to somebody else. And that's what a lot of my work centers around. It's like, how can you get clear on what you're bringing to the table, your vision, your unique value, your personality, so that you can make sure that whoever's creating on behalf of your brand is going to do it in alignment with who you are. Because too many times I've seen creators get work back either from copywriters or designers or coaches that just is not them, and they outgrow it in like a few months instead of years. So invest in knowing yourself first, and that will help any contract or relationship that you have with somebody that's being your brand.
Right, because a copywriter can't read your mind, right? They're not going to know.
I wish that we could.
Yeah. No, it's hard. I've had that experience before, where the harsh realization of realizing a contractor I hired to do copy gave me something I didn't like, and then reflecting on what I gave them and been like, they did a bang up job for what I gave them. It's like, yeah, because I was unwilling to get real with myself. So I could second that. We do have to wrap up for time, but I did just want to call out one more, which was Sharon just signed up, excited to learn. Thank you, Sharon. And thank you all for being here so much. Kaye, thank you for taking the time to share this insight, and just the way you've crafted everything is so palatable and fun to wrap your head around. I appreciate it so much. And everyone, if you liked this event, please like and subscribe to the Discover YouTube. We're trying to bring more creators and entrepreneurs like Kaye out here to share and grow the community. And also check out the link in the description for the full week of Discover Fest. This week especially, we are having 3 to 4 events every single day with all sorts of creators and all sorts of topics, from language learning to business development. Anyways, check out those resources. We appreciate your time so much. And Kaye, thank you for being here. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.